Hey, what's up? Today I was supposed to be dropping an amazing interview that I was really excited about sharing with you on the Healthy Project podcast. Uh, but today I just can't do it. I personally can't sit here and put out that episode today and pretend like everything is normal when it's not. When people have been murdered and when families in Minnesota are grieving and when our neighbors are terrified. Now, I am going to be honest with you. I don't know what the right words are here. Um, I've started this recording a couple times already because every time I open my mouth, it feels just insufficient. It feels like, how do you even talk about this? Like, how do you find the words when ICE agents killed people in Minnesota? But here's the thing. Healthy Project Media and this podcast was created to shine a light on the inequities. That's literally why this exists, to talk about the systems that harm people, to make visible what people try to keep invisible. And right now, in this moment, I realize that even though I don't have the perfect words, and even though I don't know exactly what to say, I can raise awareness. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, if you haven't heard, and I don't know how you couldn't have, but just in case, there were killings by ICE agents in Minnesota. People have died and families are destroyed. And communities across the country are watching this happen and feeling absolutely terrified about what it means for them and for their families and for their neighbors. And I need you to understand something. These aren't just headlines. These are human beings who woke up that morning not knowing it would be their last day. These are parents, siblings, friends, community members, people living real lives who are no longer here. And I've been sitting with this feeling since the news broke, this heavy, like sick feeling. And part of me was like, should I even make this episode? What can I possibly add to this conversation? I'm not on the ground in Minnesota. I'm not an immigration attorney. I'm not an organizer who's been doing this work for years. But I just have to continue to remember why I started the show. You know, silence is a choice, and it's a choice that protects systems of harm. And when we don't talk about these things, when we say it's too political or I don't know enough or someone else will cover it, trust me, I've been that guy. We're making a choice to let these systems continue unchecked. So yeah, I don't have all the answers. I'm probably going to stumble through some of this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Now, here's what I do know. Immigration enforcement in this country has always been violent. That's not new, but what we're seeing right now is an escalation, and we need to name it for what it is. When agents show up to people's homes, to their workplaces, and to their communities with weapons drawn, that is state violence. When people die during these operations, that is not an unfortunate accident. That is a predictable outcome of a system designed to terrorize. And I keep seeing people online trying to justify this, trying to find reasons why it's okay, trying to say, well, they shouldn't have been here illegally or they should have just complied. And I need you to hear me when I say this. No human being deserves to die because of their documentation status. No buts, period. That's a fact. I also know that right now, there are undocumented people listening to this who are scared. There are mixed status families who don't know if they're safe. There are people who are looking at their neighbors differently, wondering who they can trust. And if that's you, I just want you to know that I see you and I'm sorry that this is happening. And I want you to know that there are people fighting for you and organizing for you and showing up for you. Now, to everyone listening, especially, if you're not directly impacted by this, I need you to get uncomfortable right now because it's really easy to scroll past this news. It's easy to think, oh, that's terrible, and then go on about your day. And it's easy to feel sad for a minute and then move on to the next thing. But we can't do that. We have to stay with this discomfort for a little bit. We have to let it change us. We have to let it move us to action. So here's what I'm asking you to do. First, educate yourself. Learn about what's actually happening, not just the headlines, but the context, the history of immigration enforcement in this country, and the communities most impacted, the organizations doing the work. Second, find the mutual aid funds and the organizations supporting impacted communities in Minnesota and wherever you are. If you have money, give it. If you have time, volunteer. If you have a platform, use it. Now, third, check on your people. If you know someone who might be impacted by this, reach out. Let them know you're there. Ask what they need and then actually show up. And fourth, we have to continue to organize. We have to continue to build community. We have to create networks of support and solidarity that are stronger than the systems of harm. And look, like I know this is heavy and I know it's scary and I know it feels overwhelming, but we don't get to look away. The people of Minnesota don't get to look away from their grief. The families who lost loved ones don't get to look away from that pain. And the communities living in fear don't get to look away from that terror. So we don't get to look away from our responsibility to stand with them. I'm going to put a bunch of resources in the show notes of organizations to support, places to learn more, ways to take action. I'm going to keep updating that as I find more information. And I know I said I don't have the right words, and I still don't, but I think maybe there aren't right words for something like this. Maybe the point isn't to say the perfect thing. And maybe the point is to refuse to be silent and to refuse to let this become normalized, to refuse to let people's death be just another news cycle that we forget about in a week. Now, that interview I was supposed to drop today, we're going to release it next week because life goes on and the work continues. But today needed to be about this. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring, and thank you for being willing to sit with this discomfort. To the families grieving in Minnesota, I'm so sorry. Your loved ones mattered and their lives mattered, and we won't forget them. Again, thank you all for listening to the Healthy Project podcast. I'll holler at you next time.